Joining us now to break down the Arizona Cardinals win on Monday Night Football, host of the Mina Kimes podcast featuring Lenny, ESPN NFL analyst Mina Kimes. And Mina, Cards get the dub last night against the Chargers, but I'm choosing to be negative today. Is it too dramatic to suggest that the Cardinals are committing football malpractice at the highest level with Marvin Harrison Jr.? I mean, that is very difficult to watch at this point, 7 weeks in.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the Clayton Tune back-to-back sneak, because that kind of broke me. Yeah, I was like, you know what? I've been sort of gentle on Drew Petzing this year, but that one, I just about lost it. But as far as Harrison goes, man, it's so weird, dude. Like, I honestly have been kind of struggling to, and we've talked about it, right? I've been struggling to explain it because it's not all, he's not fully exonerated from blame here. And you really saw that last night. And I think the broadcast pointed it out at one point in the second half. He just kind of looked disengaged. And, look, that's common with stud receivers. I actually think Tom Brady had a great clip. Do you guys see that this year? Talking about how important it was throughout his career with number one receivers generally to get them involved psychologically. And you say, well, he is that 4 overall pick. He was so highly touted by people, including me, coming in. You shouldn't have to engage him for him to try and run routes at the highest level and play hard. But the lack of involvement is really puzzling. As is some of it is to his performance is puzzling. His college tape was the best wide receiver tape I can remember, and it is genuinely befuddling to see what's happening with him right now.
Well, let's continue to address the big 6'4" playmaker, 4th overall pick in the room. Kyler said last week during his media availability meeting that they had fixed the miscommunication. And I think that was a little bit better last night. We didn't see a whole lot of miscommunication, but like you said, the lack of involvement. What's the solution? How do they get Marv back on track?
Yeah, you got to find a way to get him involved, and it probably has to be like really basic stuff would be my guess. I think maybe last time we talked, I was like, just get him on slants, more. And it's not that it's not like they're only asking him to run go routes, right? He does, when you look at his route tree after the game, he is doing more stuff. And obviously he does get targeted on shorter routes as well. But in terms of like, how do we build his confidence? How do we build the idea of him in this offense? I think you're going to have to ask him more frequently to be targeted on short, intermediate routes, because it does feel like it's still a little bit tilted towards some of the sideline deep stuff. And I think you can't kind of start with the explosives and build backwards. You kind of have to flip it.
I mean, I think I'd be more susceptible to have criticism toward the player if the offense itself was better equipped to set up receivers for success. Like, at what point do we just opt to merge Drew Petzing's head with Nathaniel Hackett? Because I feel like at this point, everything is behind the line of scrimmage. They take no vertical shots. I think Kyler Murray has the least amount of completions beyond 10 yards this year through the air, and we know he's capable of doing it. So it's a philosophy offensively where they're just opting to choose. Let's keep everything in front of us. We're going to run the football. It feels like a very training wheel-esque offense right now.
Yeah, obviously they ran the ball really well last night, right? And I go back to last season when we were like, oh man, this run game is really like dynamic and it's creative, and now they can build the passing attack off of that. But that second half hasn't come, it hasn't materialized. And last year you kind of wrote it off due to the personnel. This year, I think they do have good receivers, and it's not just Harrison Jr. Like, Michael Wilson is a good receiver. Dortch is good. McBride is good. That's enough, right? Like, freaking look across the field. The Chargers would kill for Michael Wilson in their op. Michael Wilson would walk into LA as like the number one wide receiver with a bullet. So maybe that's not true. Actually, Ladd McConkey is pretty good. But the point is, they have enough players. And by the way, the other thing they have, and I think this sometimes maybe doesn't get talked about enough with the Cardinals, the offensive line is actually pretty good. I was thinking that watching, like, and I felt that way throughout the season. It's probably one of the better quietly one of the better pass protecting units in the NFL. So you have a quarterback who can throw deep, you have an offensive line that can protect him, and you have the skilled players. And something is not adding up that leads to a coherent passing attack downfield.
Yeah, you've got spare parts on the entire right side of the line as well. Will Hernandez out for the season. You got Grandpa Kelvin Beachum on the right tackle spot as Jonah Williams works his way back. But, it really, like Michael Wilson, he was a guy who developed a rapport at the end of last season with Kyler Murray, and then it seems like it's gone away. Is it too much of a product of they're taking what the defense is giving them? I mean, it was a ton of shell last night from Jim Harbaugh. Do the Cardinals need to force the issue a little bit more and try to just combat that and let their players make plays? Or is that just too hey, throw the ball deep, so throw the ball down the field? And is that absurd?
No, you're seeing the quarterbacks who can do it are punishing defenses for playing those shell looks. I was thinking about that watching some of the balls that Jared Goff was ripping over the middle of the field against a very, very good Lions defense that plays a ton of split safety. And I do think Kyler is capable of that. It seems like there's concern that he won't do it consistently enough, and they're living in fear of 3 and outs. I will say the Chargers defense is very good. Right. So I understand you're watching last night and it's frustrating and it's like, wow, we barely eked out this win and passing game's still not there. But you do have to account, especially we're not even at the halfway point in the season, pardon me. Nobody has been putting out, great numbers against this Chargers defense all year. They've been one of the biggest surprises of the entire NFL, candidly. So while I understand wanting, at this point, you've seen enough from this passing attack to want more, and you can certainly question, obviously, the Harrison Jr. factor. You have to consider competition here, and I kind of understand why they went with a run-heavy approach against this defense.
Let's focus on the Cards defense, because we were talking last night, on our post-game show. Like, it does feel like this team gets like a good effort like every other week, and given the personnel that they have, and specifically they don't have, like they haven't had Darius Robinson all year. They've lost multiple pass rushers due to injury on an already kind of talent-deprived unit. Like, that should be good enough, right? In this NFC, specifically this NFC West, that is clearly in a erosion stage. Like, the offense is clearly putting this team in a position to not string together victories, because this defense, most of the time, is at least going to attempt to keep them in the game.
Yeah, I think the defense deserves a ton of credit for certainly last night. I mean, I was looking up just to check, J.K. Dobbins to under 3 yards per carry is no small feat. Obviously, it's a little bit easier when you're not living in fear of Justin Herbert's pass catchers. Will Disley, by the way, Will Disley, what a throwback. Not throwback, but he was a Seahawks tight end. Never thought he would be the leading pass catcher on a team like the Chargers, but I thought it was really impressive. I mean, the way this Cardinals team has been built, and I think we talked about that, they've invested a lot more into the offense at this point, and they're kind of asking young players and free agent veterans and lower cost guys to produce on defense. And it's been up and down, but I feel like you are seeing good effort most games. And this one, I thought the run defense was really impressive. I mean, I feel like this year, the goal of the team certainly is you're no longer rebuilding, right? But the defense is still rebuilding. Like, let's call it what it is. And your goal there on that side of the ball is to identify who are the core pieces moving forward. And it feels like they're starting to find, a few gems here and there. I still think Zaven Collins, I thought, he's still good. Gardeck, obviously the safeties are great. Some of the young corners. So to come out of a game like this and only allow the Chargers to put up 15 points is genuinely a win.
I'm not done with this offense. I need to get back to it and talk.
It's far more disappointing than the defense. Right. That's my point. Like, the defense is like, okay, yeah, we'll take it. But offense.
Yeah. Kyler, you look at his stat line, Mina, last night, it's pretty pedestrian. Then you have the otherworldly, another 40-yard touchdown run where like he knew he had pay dirt, way too early for mere mortals for us to understand. But how do we evaluate his performance from Monday Night Football and just overall in this season?
Yeah, it's uneven. I didn't watch the game and it felt like Kyler Murray was the problem. There was a few inaccurate passes, particularly in the fourth quarter, that were, but he did enough, certainly to put them in field goal range. And obviously the explosive runs are something that only maybe like 3 or 4 other quarterbacks in the NFL can even touch. It's really, really special, his ability. I mean, when he ran for that, I was like, God, that's got to be the fastest run by a quarterback all season. And Next Gen Stats was like, no, it's actually not even close. But the fastest was Kyler Murray earlier in the season. But to my eye, he just looked so unbelievably fast. It's crazy. And he's confident running. He's obviously back to his pre-injury self on the ground. But I think with the passing attack, there's the thing, because of the baseline that you get not only from the run game overall, but him in particular as a runner, you don't need him to throw for 300 yards a game. You just need a little bit more than what you're getting, I think, for this offense to really take off, especially now that the run game is finally clicking and the quarterback is a part of that. You're going to get defenses playing you a different way. A lot of defenses, I think Miami, one of them. So there will be opportunities to have, but if you can't punish them with, when they give you those one-on-ones, the offense is always going to feel pretty tight.
Let's do a barometer of this NFC West that, again, is in some kind of an erosion stage. And I'm here for it. Like my entire adult life, Mina, this division has been nightmare fuel. And now it appears like the LA Rams are talking about selling off pieces. Cardinals are already 2-0 in the division. Your Seahawks, very viable 4-3. And I do think the Cardinals' best path to the postseason, if they are to make a run in the second half, is not in a robust NFC wildcard race where everybody in the North is viable. Like you have to look up at this opportunity where San Francisco is missing key pieces. Seattle's still very fraudulent. Like Cardinals should try to attempt to make a run at this division, correct? Yeah,
I agree. I mean, the win over San Francisco is huge in that regard. And I think you're absolutely right. It is about winning the division. I mean, realistically, the whole NFC North might be better than the whole NFC South, the West at this point. But yeah, it's very feasible, especially with the direction that the Rams are going in and all of the Niners injuries. Seahawks, I think the defense is still a massive question mark, although they'll be getting some players back. They've gotten a couple players back. I think for Arizona, in regards to like, well, what can be done here? I mean, the reality, like I really believe there are enough players on offense. Defense is where you need guys. Like if you were to be active in the trade market and try to improve, it would be on that side of the ball. I'd say go get an edge rusher. The offense should not have to make a trade. The players are good enough. You need more out of your play caller. You need more out of your number 4 overall pick. And then you need more out of the quarterback too.
I want to close with really high level, tap into your Ivy League education question. It's just, what's your vibe check right now, this Arizona Cardinals team?
I hate that question. That's a terrible question. Don't do that.
Yeah, it's the Harrison thing is really like stinking up the joint, right? Because even a win like last night, and it's a big win. Obviously, most folks pick the Chargers. The division's very winnable. Like this should be the fun, feisty team that I certainly thought they would be. But getting so little out of Harrison, it's really harshing the vibes. So I feel like if you can get that figured out, and you really should be able to, you feel so much better. I'm not saying that means they're going to go win the division or whatnot, but I think it's so clearly the missing piece right now with this offense, right? And they really got to find a way to get it figured out.
Real quick, Mina, it's not like a talent thing, right? Because
No.
we're going through the process of like, he's good, right? We saw his collegiate play, right?
I feel crazy watching him. I'm telling you, this dude was the best. I really believe like one of the top 5 college receivers I have ever watched. Like he was a grown man out there, like an NFL player playing with college. It was insane how good he was. The body control, the athleticism, the little veteran, the route running, all of it, the hands. So to see him not produce at this level is really, really confusing right now. And I do feel like a lot of it probably is mental at this point. Go back to, the whole disengaged stuff and some of the drops and whatnot. So, Drew Petzing, like, this is it, man. You got to make this work. And if he doesn't, I mean, if you come out of the season and it looks at the end of the season like it does right now, there's going to be some really, really serious questions for the coaching staff.
We got questions about this team, but 3-4, things could be way worse. I guess that's kind of the glass half full look at this Cardinals team. You want more insight, of course, you can find it with Mina Kimes. She joins us here throughout the season. But of course, the Mina Kimes podcast featuring Lenny and all her great work on ESPN. Mina, can't wait to catch up with you down the road here.
All right, bye, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.